ਇਹ ਡੀਸੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਨੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਬੱਚਾ ਏਡੇ ਲੈਕ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਦਰਿਆ ਦੇ ਫੇਰੇ ਨੇ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੇ
हम सब ने वो तस्वीरें देखी हैं where we have seen a young DC of Amritsar, the first woman DC of Amritsar at the front line of flood relief. हम सब ने देखा कि किस तरह से उनका एक अलग ही तरीका है. Not just has she been on the ground, but I think the authenticity really shines through as she hugs people, holds them, makes them feel कि वो अकेले नहीं है. मैं काफी दिन से साक्षी साहनी का काम देख रही हूँ और मेरी बहुत इच्छा थी उनसे बात करने के लिए एंड आई एम रियली ग्रेटफुल कि उन्होंने कुछ क्षण अपने बहुत ही बिजी डेज के बीच में से निकाले हैं. सो साक्षी, थैंक यू सो मच because I know how hectic things must be right now. Can I ask you, सबसे पहले आपके बहुत ही अपलॉडेबल काम पे आने से पहले आई थिंक बहुत लोग जानना चाहेंगे अभी सिचुएशन ऑन द ग्राउंड कैसे है, व्हाट इज द ओवरऑल सिचुएशन इन योर एरिया?
तो राइट नाउ एटलीस्ट हम अब जो हमारे रिलीफ एंड इवैक्यूएशन फेज में थे, that has come to a halt. Thankfully, we are no longer in that phase where we are facing high waters, which could be dangerous. People could be swept away. That part is over. But now we have another very big challenge before us, which is to ensure that rehabilitation of the people, as well as ensuring that there is no outbreak of any diseases, ensuring that we are able to resume our own supplies, our own services like electricity, network, water. So all of this is what we are working on right now. And also, most importantly, we've started plugging the breaches because of which which happened when the Ravi overflowed. So we've started that work now, and that is what we're focusing on.
Ma'am, can you tell us a little bit particularly about the impact on women and children? You know, we have all seen these devastating images of farmers breaking down, you know, men and women who've lost their everything, parents who've lost their children. लेकिन मैं काफ़ी दिन से सोच रही हूँ कि जो छोटे बच्चे हैं, जो औरतें हैं, उन पे क्या बीत रही होगी. You know, in particular, we don't think of the fact that people who've been displaced, women may not have access to bathrooms, may not have sanitary pads. Let's start there. What has been the impact on women and children?
I think one thing was that when the relief and rescue operations took place, the focus was on getting all the women and children out. Now the phase that we are in, it is an extremely important phase because you see, there are all kinds of issues, including menstrual hygiene. Washrooms, we've still put up. We are actually in the process of ensuring that there are diapers, there are pads, there is formula milk available. We in fact had a lot of rescue operations where women went into labor in those high flood water situations and they had to be rescued. And there were no boats that were able to reach them. So there are these issues. And I think for children all over, the schools are also closed. And they are now coming back to homes which are entirely inundated. And I have to say that even now, when we visit these houses, they've put tarpals or tarpaulin sheets, and it is still the women who are, running that little household that they have created on the tops of their terraces. I mean, they are still the ones who have to cook for the entire family. So that burden still remains on the women. That is definitely an impact, a human impact that I would say we have seen in the women and the children.
Is sanitary pads one of the key things that relief workers on the ground need?
Absolutely. And I mean, given that we have had a lot of NGOs and a lot of social organizations, women's organizations, which have been working on the ground with us, our own Indian Red Cross Society, we have all been working on this issue and addressing the aspect of menstrual hygiene because we understand the dangers of it. And I would not say that now sanitary napkins are in short supply, but I would say quite happily that in fact this is something that is being openly discussed and openly being catered to.
I'm really happy to hear that because this is really not the time for whispers about really sort of basic access to what women need. I want you to talk a little bit about whether, Punjab has been devastated. We have seen close to 1,700 villages submerged. We have seen, lakhs of hectares of land gone. We have seen deaths. देयर इज स्टिल फेयर कि अगर बारिश दोबारा होती है तो जो डैम्स के स्टोरेज कैपेसिटी है वो शायद उनको अब्जॉर्ब ना कर पाए. अभी क्या आशंका है? व्हाट इज योर बिगेस्ट फियर एट दिस मोमेंट?
So honestly, I think you see, there is very little that uh, uh, people can do before a natural calamity when it occurs. But I think as an administration now, our job is that we quickly get the breaches filled so that at least there is a protective embankment for the people, and also to ensure that they are immediately rehabilitated. And that is what we are working on. You see, a dam safety has to be maintained, because in case the dam safety is compromised, whatever is the inflow would be the outflow. There would be no regulation or control. So that is something we understand, and we are being downstream of Jammu and Kashmir, of Himachal. We have to also factor in what is the weather or the adverse weather event that would could take place. And there has been a weather forecast. Thankfully, it has not had much impact on Punjab during the second phase. But we are still on high alert with respect to the waters that may come as a result of adverse weather events in the upper states.
I wanted to talk a little bit about your own work on the ground. You know, a lot of people in the country, including myself, noticed you right there. वो जैसे कहते हैं ना कि rolling your sleeves up, rolling your salwar up, rolling your trousers up, there in the water with the people, hugging them, holding their hand, really moving the hearts of people even outside of Punjab. टॉक अ लिटिल बिट अबाउट दैट. कुछ लोगों ने कहा दिस इज फीमेल लीडरशिप, कुछ लोगों ने कहा दिस इज गुड लीडरशिप इरिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ जेंडर. हाउ डू यू सी इट?
Actually, I would just say that, we are humans first, and this is a huge tragedy. And I wouldn't want any one gender to be able to monopolize empathy or compassion, because that would entirely absolve the other gender of the responsibility to also be compassionate. So I would say that as humans and as civil servants, I think we have two key purposes, which is, one is actually empathy and the other is purpose. So if we cannot integrate these two, it would be very difficult for us to really even understand what a family is going through in that situation, and to be able to jointly come up with a solution, which is something that would address the issues on ground practically. Now, for example, we know that many people will not leave their houses because of their animals who
Yeah.
would be stuck. Somebody has to be there. So it's okay to say that, it's okay to order that I ordered everybody to evacuate. But that's not going to happen on ground till you actually understand why it is not going to happen on ground. Then what can you do for it? So, for example, we also tried setting up an animal shelter so that people who want to move with their animals can move with their animals also. It may or may not work, but at least we try to address a situation uh, that is there. Now, for example, I mean, there are so many people who will not leave because they feel that, घर में तो चोरी ना हो जाए.
Yeah.
Now, here are things that we then can jointly address as the police administration and the civil administration, if we understand why that these orders would not get implemented if they are just written out. So I think that this aspect of empathy and purpose, how can I help, is extremely important for any civil servant to be effective. And I assure you that it's not just me, but if you look at any of the districts which are right now flood affected, all of my colleagues would be working with the same kind of dedication and commitment to this purpose. Because honestly, this is a huge, huge tragedy for the people of Punjab. And still, I would say that even now, when we go to people's houses, it's full of, I mean, you might have the very pictures that you're talking about. I think
Yeah.
they're basically of the old couple that I met
Yes.
when I mean, me and the assistant
Tell
had
us
gone.
about that. Tell us about that old couple.
So actually, I mean, coming to that only, the fact that that was not about me, although that got picked as a moment about me. Honestly, I feel it's about them. It entirely epitomizes the Chardi Kala of Punjab. I mean, here is a couple that is staring at huge losses. They are entirely cut off from the village. Their kids are away. They've probably not spoken to their children because there's been no network on the mobile. And they see us, and despite this huge loss that they are looking at, they look at us and they find it in their hearts to bless us. I mean, that is incredible. That is something that really moved me also, and I think that is a huge lesson that even I took back with me. That even in the face of adversity, actually, this is Chardi Kala, the rising spirit that we talk about. The fact that they could bless us,
I
and I
think,
think,
yeah.
yeah, please.
No, I think Punjab's resilience, its hardiness, those images of the old couple you met, or there's another old elderly man, वो
Yes.
पानी के से बीच में जाके सबको चाय पिला
चाय
रहे
दे
हैं.
रहे हैं जी.
हाँ, और बच्चा एक छोटा सा who's smiling after losing all, everything. It is extraordinary, but of course that doesn't mean that Punjab doesn't deserve all the attention, all the support, or the help.
Absolutely.
कि resilience बोल के आप लोगों को अपने, you leave them to fend for themselves. You said, and I think it's a beautiful, powerful idea, that one gender should not monopolize empathy, and it also absolves the other gender of having to be empathetic. There's been a lot of attention on your backstory, the first woman DC in Amritsar. You trained to be a lawyer. I think you ranked number 6 in your UPSC. You come from a family where I think your father has been a revenue service officer, your mother has been in education. Can you talk a little bit about what made you decide? You could have been a rich lawyer. You're there in waste high water, doing public service, which is actually what being a civil servant is about. Could you tell us a little bit about what made you decide to embrace the life that you're living?
So I think you actually put it very rightly. I think I mean, I was very, it was a privilege for me because I was able to attend Nalsar University of Law, Hyderabad, and we have to undergo these internships after every 6 months. And although having read a lot of Sidney Sheldon's, I wanted to be a successful, glamorous lawyer at 23. That idea completely changed when I was in my third year. I studied constitutional law, I studied laws, jurisprudence, and I realized that the real kamai is not for me. I mean, it's for everyone, each one to their own. But for me, I realized that the kind of satisfaction that I was getting doing either legal aid or doing voluntary work was much, much more than I was getting in a corporate kind of setup. And I think that kamai or that satisfaction for me meant a lot more than the kamai, um, in the monetary terms.
Yeah.
And it's at the end, when they find that there is absolutely nothing more, that's when they have to go to a court of law. But could I step in the beginning and see if I could help people that they don't even have to go to the court of law, which is how I completely changed my whole idea and decided that I want to use law, but maybe not as a lawyer, but maybe if I could come in a little earlier in this scheme of things. So that's how I decided to be a civil servant, and I don't regret it at all. In fact, every day I feel that I'm extremely blessed. I learn something every day. I meet a lot of incredible human beings on a daily basis, and honestly, that is my real sense of satisfaction.
I want to ask you in the end, and then we let you go because you have more important work to do than to be talking to us. One thing you have seen in this flood relief experience that has really moved you, and that you want the rest of the country to also understand about what's happening in Punjab.
Uh, I think, uh, you know, again, like you rightly said, that while Punjab is extremely resilient, the people of Punjab are extremely resilient. But here is a disaster you know, that has really shaken up. Right now, all 23 districts of Punjab are reeling under floods. And this is something that it would take some time for the individual families to come out of. And I really appreciate the work of all the organizations. Like, this is my duty actually, so this is my work. But here are a lot of civil, society organizations who have volunteered to be here, help, also wade in these muddy waters, and I really want to thank and appreciate them. But I think that generally speaking, and it's not just a Punjab thing, but I think that looking at the kind of adverse weather events that have been taking place all across, whether it is Tamil Nadu, whether it is Uttarakhand, even urban flooding in places like
Yeah,
Chhattisgarh, Mumbai, whether it is Himachal, Jammu and Kashmir, I think we really need to bring in the aspect of climate resilience into our everyday uh, policies. And I think uh, I think that that stage which we keep thinking would happen tomorrow is already here. So definitely, I
absolutely.
think we need to work on climate resilience. as a country.
Absolutely. All I want to say to you, Sakshi Sahni, is the images of you. You may say, "मैं तो बस अपना काम कर रही थी." It has really restored faith at a time when sometimes faith is shaken. You know, when a disaster happens, a calamity happens, people tend to lose faith. And I think you have brought home that public service is not only a job, it is above all about empathy. It is above all about being in the other person's shoes, whether we want to call that a female style of leadership or whether we want to call that a gender agnostic, empathy driven kind of leadership. I think that's a debate on semantics. All I can say is sometimes all it takes is a few good women or men. Thank you and more power to you. Thank you, Sakshi.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.